Good morning, everyone, once again. And it's so good to be with you this morning. This morning, I want to talk about how we grow relationships and build community through communication, through communion, and through connection. And I'm guessing that part of the reason that you're here today is you want to deepen in your communion with the very source of your being, right? In the communion with the very source of your being. But also, we want to be nourished by the connection we feel with our kindred spirits. You know, that's part of why I created this unity community, a place we could gather together with spiritual family. I love that quote, your friends are your chosen family. And also, your family can be really dear friends. You know, my big brother and I are like really close friends. And so um, I think most of us would like to deepen our connections, nourish our connections with the important people in our lives. Um, Thich Nhat Hanh, who I mentioned last week because he's been such a teacher of mine, I wanted to mention he's no longer in the body, but he has left us such a body of teachings. I see you all nodding. Incredible books and just such a resource. But there's something he used to always say, and he used to always say that understanding is the beginning of love. Understanding is the beginning of love. You know, when we grow our understanding through good communication and through nourishing our connection, we feel more love, we feel more peace. One of the things I've learned over so many years of giving retreats, I've been giving retreats for about 32 years, and also being a minister and being a spiritual counselor, is that when people feel heard, when they feel listened, when you just simply hold space for them with presence, it is so healing. It's so healing, and also, you know, your presence, your consciousness, just holding space allows them to get in touch with their own answers, right? We all have the divine within us. We all have the answers available when we do what we just did, when we get still. And so it's so important that we do that. But we as humans, we have these feeling hearts. We have these feeling hearts. We need connection. We need to feel like we're heard and we're understood and that we matter, right? And I believe if we had more connections, if humans had more connections and more understanding, there'd be a lot less suffering in this world. There'd be a lot more peace. I think that's an antidote, more connection, more understanding. There's this strange phenomena in our present technology. Maybe you've noticed it. I see it every day at the gym. People are tethered to their phones. Have you noticed? You really notice it at the airport too. But you know, it's so funny in the gym, like they'll do a rep and then, you know, they have to grab their phones and see what they might have missed in the last 30 seconds, you know? Um, it's amazing to me. And I feel like what they're really missing is they're missing saying hello to the person that's right there beside them they might make friends with. I saw a funny cartoon the other day where mom and dad were huddled around their computer and they're writing this email. And the email says, "Dear Andy, how are you? Your mother and I are fine. We miss you. Please come downstairs and sign off your computer for something to eat. Love, Dad." We've never had so many means of communication, right? We can, let's see if I can get them all. We can text, we can email, we can Facebook, we can FaceTime, we can Twitter, we can tweet, and we can even meet in person. I need to write a rap song. That sounds like a good little rap song. And sometimes our communication sounds like this: leave me a voicemail at work so I can call your house, so you can email my laptop so I can text your cell, and you can answer me on Facebook. I left out Zooming, but I'm so incredibly grateful for Zooming. We would have died of loneliness during the pandemic if we didn't have Zooming. And it's also opened up this world where we can have our friends here from everywhere. I love it. So we have so many means to connect, so many means. And yet sometimes we don't feel the connection that our hearts are looking for, right? Thich Nhat Hanh talks about that in his book, The Art of Communicating. He says that loneliness is the suffering of our time. And even if we're surrounded by others, we can feel very lonely. Often when we check our emails or texts, sending them and receiving them all day, it doesn't reduce the loneliness we feel, and that we hunger for love, but we don't know how to generate love. And we don't know how to connect with ourselves and connect with each other. So there are two skills. There are two skills that mean everything when we're trying to truly connect and communicate with each other. Can you tell me what they are? This is audience participation time. Oh, that's a nice skill for communicating. I like that. Being present, listening. Who said that? Yes, Diane, gold star. What else? What, did I hear something? What did you say? Listening to. What else? Empathizing. Yes, yes. What else? What else is important for communication? Eye contact. Yes, yes. Speaking from the heart. That's what I was waiting for, is the speaking part. Because how we speak, right? How we speak is so important. So Thich Nhat Hanh talks about deep listening and loving speech. But I really love everything else you said. That is also very important. To really understand somebody, we have to really listen, right? And not be like forming what we're going to say, right? Without even having them finish their sentence. We need to be able to speak in a way that encourages someone's heart to open and stay open, right? Versus close down because maybe of our tone and our words. We don't want to be like Oscar Wilde, who said, I like to do all the talking myself. It saves time and prevents arguments. Have you had that experience though, when you're trying to connect with someone and you want to have a connection, but they don't let you get a word in edgewise? Anybody? Thanksgiving? Anybody? We can get subjected to a monologue, and it really lacks fulfillment, right? It lacks connection. We don't feel like our experience matters. That's really the bottom line. And some folks also haven't become fully aware of their tone when they speak. I saw a funny comic the other day. These two guys are sitting on a small couch, and the one guy has a megaphone up to his mouth, and the other one is right against his friend's head. And his friend is looking at him, and he's going, John, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. So I have a sensitive nervous system, and I sometimes am with friends where I just wish they had a little knob where I could just turn their voice down a little bit. But I found a skillful way to deal with that. I just start talking really softly. And it's funny, they seem to get it through osmosis. So we become better communicators by being mindful of how we speak, and not just the tone, or being willing to let the other person have a chance to speak as equally, but also by the content of our words. As an interfaith minister, I'm always quoting Buddhism because I just love how they have so much figured out. They're really all about spiritual psychology, and I love the Noble Eightfold Path. And one of the practices is right speech, right speech. And so the gist of right speech is learning how to communicate with compassion and understanding, to have those two qualities in your communicating. And sometimes what we have to say isn't easy, right? Sometimes we're trying to tell someone the truth about our suffering. But there is an art to finding and using words in a way that help the listener not become defensive, right? Because we all know the suffering brought about by wrong speech. We've all been there. Speech can cause a lot of suffering if it's unkind, or if it's untruthful, or if it's, the words are violent. There's a wonderful metaphor from the Sufis. You've probably heard it, but it's called the three gates. Have you heard the three gates? They have this teaching that before you speak, make sure your words can pass through three gates. And the first gate is, are your words true? So if they're not true, send them back, right? They don't pass. The second one is, are they necessary? And that's a good thing to contemplate. Do I really need to say this? And then the third one is, are they true? Are they, I'm sorry, did I say that already? Okay, the kind. Are they kind? Yeah, are they kind, really? Because if not, they're probably not going to have a very good effect on your communication. I wish that every politician had to meet that criteria. So that teaching, that Sufi teaching, goes hand in glove with the Buddhist teaching of right speech. They have four elements of right speech, and the first one is to tell the truth, and to share the truth in a way that others don't feel threatened and they can listen, and also consider maybe your truth is not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and maybe just possibly it could be erroneous. Imagine that. Right? So telling the truth. The second one is to not exaggerate. That experience when someone exaggerates what you did and they make it 10 times worse. Right? You chipped a plate and someone says you ruined their chinaware. Right? So we don't want to make it more tragic to justify our perspective. The third point is to be consistent, meaning no double talk, speaking about something in one way to one person, opposite way to another. We don't want to do that. And then lastly, to use peaceful language, to refrain from speech that's accusing or judgmental. And then there's a wonderful tool that Thich Nhat Hanh shares of 6 mantras of loving speech. And I love these mantras. They're just a beautiful they're a beautiful mantra to remember to say often to the people that you love most. The first one is, I am here for you. Isn't that a nice thing to hear? I'm here for you. The last 5 months going through the deepest grief of my life and losing my mom, the people that told me that, they might have written it in a card or left it on a text or a message. Just, I am here for you. Maybe I don't know what to say, but I'm here. That's huge. That really makes a difference. The second mantra, I know you are there and I'm very happy. That's acknowledging someone holding space for you, being there for you. That's expressing gratitude. The third one, I know you suffer and that's why I'm here for you. I think this one is important because I think sometimes we know somebody's suffering, but we're not talking about it. And I think if we can just say, I know you're suffering and I'm here, that's why I'm here, it gives them, I don't know, it gives them permission in case they want to share their suffering, and it at least acknowledges what's real, it's authentic. Number 4, I suffer, please help. This one is really important, and it's hard for us, a lot of us, because we want to be, stalwart. We just think we can carry it alone. So to say, I suffer, please help, it's being vulnerable, right? But it's important because then somebody can understand where we're at. Number 5, this is a happy moment. This is an important one. Like Thanksgiving, I enjoyed so much. It was the simplest afternoon with my brothers and my partner, Chuck. But we were laughing and we were talking, and I wasn't sure how it was going to be because Mom, it was our first Thanksgiving in her house without her. And yet she was there. I just felt her so happy seeing us joyful. This is a happy moment. We want to celebrate those. We want to, notice those. They're precious. And then my personal favorite, the last one, you are partly right. This one could save a lot of relationships. And you can say it in different ways. You can say, you are partly right, or you can say it, you are partly right. So the other key to meaningful communication is deep listening, And there's a quote that says, a good listener is not only popular everywhere, after a while they know something, right? So, listening and being fully present, it's one of the most loving things we can do. Boy, I have to say, as a minister, it's something I've learned. Just listen and be present, you know, bring your heart to the table. It's also, you know, it's having this pure heart intention to help the other person suffer less. And they do suffer less if they feel understood. It happens naturally. And I notice that, you know, how I can listen well is by taking care of myself first. I have to fill up my well of compassion, like my storage of compassion. And if I'm depleted, I don't make myself available. I've learned, you know, I've learned balance, I've learned self-care. It's important. So, you know, we're all going to be faced at times with someone who's full of suffering or anger or rage, even, and wrong perceptions. They might be blaming, they might be accusing. We have healthy boundaries for sure. But also, if we can stay in the energy of compassion and mindfulness, we can realize that where they're coming from is suffering. And, you know, we can be protected from that negativity by having our compassion stores strong. Like I was telling you guys last week that I chant my mantra at different times. I chant it when I'm in line at a store and I'm feeling impatient. I chant it when I'm camping and there's two bears fighting outside my tent. And I chant it when someone's sharing something really painful with me. Sometimes it's rage or it's anger. If it's directed at me, that's a little different. But if they're sharing, trying to get something out, you know, I'll chant my mantra and I'm still really present, but like I'm cultivating high consciousness. I'm cultivating this high vibration. And so what they're sharing with me is getting mitigated. It's getting released. And the other thing that's happening is it's passing right through me. That energy isn't getting stuck in me. Because that's what we tend to want. When somebody's sharing something hard, we tend to want to go like this. No, I don't want that energy in me. But there's a way to keep your vibration really clear and pure, and that energy passes right through. So the mantra is a powerful tool. I'm going to give a talk at some point in the new year on mantra because it's so powerful. Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication is something I've practiced and I love, and I want to bring a teacher here in the new year as well because it's such a useful practice. But he emphasizes empathy. He describes it as the respectful understanding of what another person's experiencing. There's that word understanding again, the respectful understanding of what someone's experiencing. And it basically means that we're present to what's alive in the other person, right? We're listening for feelings and we're listening for needs, feelings and needs under what's being said, right? So, you know, we try to understand that we each have needs, right? We have needs because we have things that are important to us. And if we can understand, it'll bring a lot of healing. So the last aspect I want to explore today is communion. Communion it's very similar to communication, but it's kind of like this deeper resting in presence. And I would say communion is kind of beyond the mind, right? It's like the mind gets still, like blissful stillness, and we rest in something, and we receive something so rich. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about practicing non-thinking and non-talking. Not so easy, right? Non-thinking, not so easy. But we practice, we unplug, we turn everything off, we spend some time with ourselves. And, you know, I personally love my time alone. I have to have it. And my two things I do, I walk in nature every day, and I meditate every day. And I have to have that. It's like I go home and drink from the well. If we're filling up all our time with distractions, it could be that what we most need is to turn and face what we want to distract from, right? There's a quote from Rumi, and it's so interesting because I've been so exploring grief and how we meet grief, and we all do it differently. But Rumi, he says, don't run away from grief, O soul. Look for the remedy inside the pain. Look for the remedy inside the pain, because the rose came from the thorn and the ruby came from the stone. That's been my journey. I've just been willing to be with the grief and all of it. But it really takes deep commitment to be conscious. We are brave, we are courageous. You know, those of you here today, I know you're on the path, and it takes commitment to become conscious. This is the work of, finding all the places in us that hold suffering, and finally allow that to come out of the shadows, to gently bring it out of the shadows and meet it. It's really rich work. It's really rewarding, the reward is feeling greater love. Thich Nhat Hanh says, we don't tell our fear or anger to go away. I would include sadness or hurt. We recognize it. These feelings are like a small child tugging at our sleeve. Pick them up and hold them tenderly. Acknowledging our feelings without judging them or pushing them away, embracing them with mindfulness, is an act of homecoming. Yes. We can listen to the pain and the sorrow and the fear. We don't have to run from it. We do need to take care of it. We do. And then we're better equipped in all our communication, right? Then, if we take care of the blocked places, right? They call them samskaras in Hinduism, which I think is a great word. It's got that word scar in it, and it can feel like that, the blocks in our heart. We take care of those places, and then we're able to drop deeper into that inner stillness and that natural peace, right? For me, it's refuge, to be still, to go out in nature, to meditate. It's coming home to life. It's connecting to life itself. Even a short session of daily meditation really helps us move with more grace, more clarity, more wisdom, and joy too. So in closing, I just encourage us all to take time to commune with ourselves and to bring compassion to ourselves, an extra heaping dose of compassion to all our feelings, And then as we are living in greater balance, that naturally ripples out into all our relations, and we are able to practice more presence and more deep listening and more loving speech and loving kindness in our life. And just remember those healing mantras as well. I'm here for you, one of the most beautiful of all mantras. I know you suffer, that's why I'm here for you. And of course, that wonderful diplomatic relationship saving mantra, you are partly right. You can even now and then say, you are completely right. So may all your loved ones, may all our relations, may all beings be at peace and be happy and communicate well. Thank you. Om Shanti.